Welcome to Security Nation, an ESA podcast that brings you the voice of electronic security and life safety. We bring on security pros to discuss the latest industry happenings, new technology, and best practices, telling your story to become the ever-present voice in an ever-changing industry. I'd like to introduce this episode's guest. We have Brandon Wilson, an account executive at RFI. Thanks for coming on the podcast today, Brandon.
Yeah, thank you for having me today, Hannah. And hello, ESA and Security Nation, and happy to be here. Thank you for the time just to kind of share my story, and maybe I can start off with a little bit of background of how I came into this lovely security industry, if that's okay with you and everybody.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. That's usually how we like to begin our episodes. It is a unique industry where it is big, but there is this feeling, like I was telling you before, where it does feel a little bit niche. And so it's always interesting to hear how people came to find it, come into it, and what they plan to do for the future of their career. So yeah, jump right in.
All right. Yes, and I do agree. It is big but small. Everyone seems to kind of know each other for some reason. And
Right.
you know what? We're all part of the same family, so I'm okay with it. And I was actually born into this industry. My mom and dad met at RFI 40 maybe or so years ago, and the rest was kind of history. I'm the only one out of my four siblings to still carry the torch, but yeah, I became kind of enamored with what security kind of brought. I saw it for the last 30 years that I can say from my life, at least, how it's changed from, analog cameras to analytics that can tell you, what color shoes you are wearing on Wednesday at 7 p.m. or whatever it may be. So, yeah, I've started out just kind of around the office, being just the baby of RFI, I guess you could say, and then graduated to working in the warehouse and spending some summers working on the field, helping out, and then after college, kind of found my way back to the home front, and I've been in my position for about the last 4.5 years or so, and haven't looked back. So yeah, and I think I'm here to stay for quite a while longer. As long as the industry will keep me, I'll stay in here with everybody. So yeah, and like I said, I found this love from mainly from my father, who, like I said, started RFI from the very beginning about 40 plus years ago, and yeah, so glad to be here. Glad to be here.
No, that's awesome. Not everyone can say that they were born into the industry. So thanks for
Yeah, of
sharing that.
course.
Awesome. So one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the podcast was that ESA did a kind of like a social media campaign where we basically asked different ESA members, we asked all of our members to share any charitable programs or services that they might be doing so that we can kind of highlight it and educate people so how they can get involved in some of these service programs. The social media campaign was called Security Serves, and RFI actually joined this campaign and submitted the program that they started to serve and educate people about liver disease. Would you be able to provide some background on this program and kind of how and why it started?
Yeah, absolutely. So it started, I'd say, this year at the beginning of 2022. Speaking back onto my father, which is how we're kind of tied into this liver foundation. Going back and, like I said, being kind of born into and following these footsteps, this time last year, in 2021, he was still the president of RFI. We, up until this point, and I'm gonna go ahead and just share a personal kind of story. Till this point, we hadn't quite been involved with any type of foundations as far as cancer went. And this time last year, we were not even aware that my father had cancer. So it gives a little preface to how quickly things come, and then go, and just kind of the knowledge of, or ill knowledge of or not having knowledge of cancer, or any type of underlying health condition. So coming 2022, right in the beginning of the year, my father, Brad Wilson, was diagnosed with liver cancer. And with that, his was found within his bile duct, but the general term of liver cancer. Unfortunately, my father did end up passing away, and it was a quick and swift kind of taking, I would say. For I think we knew in total for about a week that my father had liver cancer. So it was really sudden. It was
Oh,
really sudden. Yeah, from one Saturday of kind of going in right after the New Year's and feeling some health concerns, just not feeling right. Jaundice started to kind of come onto his skin, and so with an external physical factor, the doctors were typically saying, like, when you're coming in for something and it's already physically showing, unfortunately, it's probably at this later stage or too late at that point.
mm,
So that's what kind of proposed him to go into the hospital, and he was told he had terminal liver cancer, and the tumor was too large to be able to operate on or to do a liver transplant. So it was going to just be treatment at this point. Um, in order to get to that portion of doing the treatment, they had to put a stent in to allow kind of fluids or just bile to go from his liver to his intestines and his
yeah,
intestinal tract. So he's having a little bit of issues for the last few weeks leading up to that. And one of the other concerning things is that he was going and getting checked regularly every 6 months for his liver because he had a genetic health concern, which was coined a fatty liver disease.
yeah,
And he was dealing with that for years. So he was already getting checked regularly, which is kind of, like I said, what comes up with this concern of not detecting cancer, especially
right.
when he's going in and specifically looking at his liver. So I realized through this process that there just really isn't a lot out there to, I guess, identify the cancers, even though you may be going in and getting your normal checkups of things of that nature.
Hmm.
There's specific, dye MRIs or different procedures or specific tests that are looking for these specific cancers rather than just a general. So because he was getting checked, like I said, regularly, and even when he was in the hospital for that first few days, they hadn't noticed the cancer. It wasn't until they did a dye MRI.
Oh,
Fast forward a little bit, he got his stent put in to allow fluid. He came home for a few days and then unfortunately had to go back to the hospital. The procedure didn't go as planned, and he had a few other procedures and just didn't end up making it past those. So I had about a week to know that my father had liver cancer, and from finding out to unfortunately losing him. The silver lining in a lot of that, though, was just, like I said, to be able to be a part of what now is, the Liver Foundation, and just kind of having my eyes open to well, life in general, just the shortness of it, but just that there's so many people that are affected by not only just liver cancer, but just cancer in general and other health, concerns for that matter
yeah,
too. But sticking on the topic of cancer, I was blown away. My dad was someone that went and got, like I said, checked, was really on top of his health as far as just taking the precautions of regular maintenance, I would say. And
yeah,
so that's why it was concerning to just, wow, you went and didn't even know that you had this cancer. And that's kind of what's been kind of the driving factor to starting and donating and starting some of this fundraising toward the Liver Foundation, was just to kind of help people become aware. One, to become aware, but two, to hopefully help the cause being able to help the doctors or whatever kind of medical technology that's coming out to just further that and find earlier onset detection. Um,
Yeah.
to help any other kind of families or friends that may be dealing with things of this nature. Because, like I said, I had about a week. I knew, just to kind of rattle off, if that's okay with you, Hannah,
Yeah, go right ahead.
a few small statistics, but during that, they had told us during this 1 week that, and unfortunately, the doctors are brutally honest, as they should be with you, but they don't hide what the medical facts are telling you, and just in general, when you detect that you have liver cancer, it's as low as about a 5% survival rate. Now
Mm.
that's there's factors that change that on how early and what stages those are, but the general number is roughly around this 5%. And unfortunately, you kind of don't find some of these things until something physical brings you in, unless you're doing regular checkups. Even with that, though, like I said, my father was doing that. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like I said, we have a lot of medical, advances in technology, but it's really not quite as where you and I would hope that it would be, especially being in this scenario that I'm currently in. So,
Right.
like I said, the silver lining was seeing, is there a way to help others, and maybe give others more time than maybe what I had. And so by doing that, RFI teamed up, and started to do a fundraiser. And part of it was during his memorial service. We had a 30 for 30 challenge at our work too. So it was just encouraging employees to donate, to take care of themselves. We have kind of a health app, so you can kind of get in certain steps and earn different things of that nature too. So just kind of promoting health awareness, and then money as well to help the foundation. By no means did I start or do anything with the Liver Foundation. They were already up and going, but we had such a big presence during this time of grief, I guess, as you could call it, that they reached out to us as a few weeks progressed and said, "Hey, would you guys be open to doing a liver walk challenge?" And
Mm.
which was also really cool because my sister is part of the Montessori school program, and she got really in touch with RFI, and RFI and these Montessori schools kind of teamed up. And so between the both of them, which was really a beautiful kind of sight to see, we were able to raise over $55,000 just this year in 2022 toward the
Wow.
Liver Foundation, which was really awesome, and just kind of felt fitting. It felt like a nice thing to be able to give back from what was kind of taken, for that matter. So
Hmm.
and in turn, like I said, I became more educated on all of these. I want to preface also the conversation that uh, I didn't quite go through with the what I would kind of coin as the traditional sense of what maybe others or movies, for that matter, kind of show of cancer. I thought I was going to kind of have this long line of a few months, maybe even a year's worth, to kind of go through this process. So it was really quick, all within a week. So
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of knowledge on um, on how that process and chemo and different things that work, and I didn't walk that path, fortunately,
Right.
unfortunately. But what I do know is that there was just a big, hole of just kind of, where did this come from? How can we combat this? And just things to kind of do. So yeah, it came pretty quick, Hannah. But like I said, RFI, which was really cool, and especially working here at RFI, and my dad working here for so many years, I think the people felt like, um, what can we do to help Brad? What can we do to help his family, and what can we do to help anyone else that's affected by liver, cancer, or just liver disease in general?
Yeah.
And like I said, hopefully with the awareness of liver cancer, brings awareness to other cancers, or other health diseases, or anything of that nature, because life is short. Life is short.
Absolutely. I hear you there. Thank you for sharing. I mean, oh, there's so many aspects of that story that are kind of harrowing, yet also inspiring. And yeah, I can't imagine going through something like that so quickly. But that is life, as you were saying. So many of us, you know, we have a family friend who recently uh, got diagnosed with breast cancer, and it's extremely aggressive. And yeah, there's so many unknowns, and also questions on as far as like how can we be more aware, how can we be better at screening these things, like you were saying. So your father did have fatty liver disease, and so he
Mhm.
was doing like screening. What kind of screening was he doing? Was it like blood work, do you know? Or you said that it was the MRI that ultimately found the cancer, is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. So I know that he was getting, yeah, he was getting blood work done. That was, to my knowledge, what the regular every 6 months or so, what his screening was.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe he was getting MRIs done regularly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was doing his other kind of screenings like colonoscopies every, X
Right.
amount of months or years, and physicals and everything he could do that was quote unquote the right way
Like
to
the
go about
general
it.
practice.
Right, exactly. And but it wasn't until the blood work came back in December, end of December, that hey, something kind of seems a little bit off.
Mm,
We go right into the new year. And this is very end of the year. We go right into the new year. He had also just had his booster a few days before Christmas. So going to the new year, had COVID and was thinking, okay, maybe some of this blood work and different things are off because of COVID, but still
right.
went in. And I think he was just hopeful thinking, but the blood work was off because the tumor um, was had grown so far out now that it was, like I said, cutting off his bile duct, and the
Mm-hmm.
blood work was showing his bilirubin levels really high and toxic almost, because it was basically pinched from his liver down into his intestinal tract. So the blood work showed up different at the end of December. We don't know, even till now, how long that this cancer had been forming
Right.
within his body. It had been well before the December. It just was December when it finally started to show its face, I would
Yeah.
call it. And then that, like I said, when unfortunately when it starts to show its face, as they said, if you're
Yeah.
coming in because something feels off and it has to do with cancer, it's probably at a later stage.
Right.
It's probably at a later stage. It's one of those things where they say you need to come in for some other type of health concern, and then luckily find, oh hey, there's some polyps growing, or this is a cancerous tumor. It's small. We can catch it now. In this case, he was brought in because of the cancer rather than finding something out earlier on. And that's kind
Mm-hmm.
of where, like I said, my brain started to really go in a lot of forward directions after he had passed away. Of wow, like I don't want 30. He was 61 when he passed away.
Yeah,
In
that's young.
Right. And so me being 30 years old, I don't, I'm thinking, wow, what can I do to prevent, this happening to myself, and
Right.
how would I be able to detect it? And I'll be on top of it because of this past history within this family. But before that, there's no past history of any cancer within our family. And on either on either side of his mom or his dad. And so it was really just kind of unique, like I said. And that also kind of tails into, it's not necessarily, we were discussing previously that I think liver cancer in the past is associated heavily with alcohol. The
Right.
liver is affected with alcohol, and that's probably why just people get liver failure or liver cancer. Um, in this case, that wasn't the case for it. Did my dad consume alcohol? Well, he wasn't abstinent from it. Being transparent with that, but
Yeah.
it wasn't. It was a lot of different factors all in one. Like I said, that he had a fatty liver disease. So his liver already, like I said, was susceptible to cancer potentially
Right.
opening up. And like I said, don't really know what some of the other external factors that were or were not present. But being on top of his health, there was nothing else that was pointing in a direction of, hey, you're unhealthy, or there's something that could maybe trigger it. It was just kind of like, hey, we know you have your fatty liver disease, get this checked regularly. So I
Hmm.
guess what I'm saying is that um, even with taking all the right precautions and doing everything that the doctors had advised, it was still there. And I think that's what the biggest message of a lot of this is, that even if you're kind of doing everything right or taking the right steps, or maybe even abstaining from drinking in general, that doesn't prevent necessarily any of these types of cancers from forming. You know, as we discussed, there's children that get liver disease or
Yeah.
liver cancer, you know, that haven't had an ounce of alcohol. So it's not, it's hard to say what why things are the way they are and where the things kind of come from. What we can say is that they are happening, that they are coming. You know, whether it's children, um, adolescents, or adults, you know, or elderly for that matter, it seems to be a little bit out of our control for a sense. So
Yeah.
the things that we can take control on is just awareness. And I think personally, that's what I became, you know, hit with, was just how often this is happening, how many families and friends are being affected by it.
Right.
Even the liver walk, for that matter, when we had been proposed to do the liver walk and raise money for it, my dad was the liver champion just because of how much money that we had raised, and I knew he was looking up and, you know, looking down, and happy to be the champion. He was a bigger than
Hmm.
life kind of person, and we were like, oh, this, he would love this. He would love to be the liver champion. And so we wore his shirt in pride. But truly, when I was there at the liver walk, I didn't realize how many other people were there. I mean, a large
Yeah.
component was RFI and supporters for my father, but there were people that were affected by it from, you know, parents of their past, or donors that had donated even a part of their liver. You can donate. There was a gentleman that was there. Just different aspects of it. It doesn't even have to be a direct connection, and it was kind of a beautiful thing to see that, wow, there's a lot of people here in support, and they didn't even know my dad, or they didn't necessarily even have a parent that passed away. Maybe it was a friend of a friend. And
Right.
so it was kind of nice just to see, well, people can come together for a good cause. People can make others aware, and you know, we're all humans at the end of the day. And so we know that we're not necessarily going to live forever, but we'd like to do everything that we can to, you know, sustain as much life as possible. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of been the journey thus far.
No, that's great. There's so many things I want to touch on. I mean, I really I think it's amazing that RFI was able to create kind of like that unifying moment on that liver walk. I think it's amazing that your dad became the liver champion. It's fantastic, and you guys were able to, you know, fundraise so much money for such an important cause. Um, you know, and like you were saying, like I think there are a lot of misconceptions when it comes to, you know, causes of liver cancer or fatty liver disease. And I think there is that association that a lot of people make, or assumption that people make, like, oh, like fatty liver or liver cancer, that means that they had an alcohol problem or something like along those lines. But yeah, like we were saying before we did the podcast, it does seem like it is something that is curiously, it feels like it's becoming more prevalent over time, at least you know, when I've talked to my like elder family members, they don't remember it. Maybe there was just less awareness. Maybe that's part of the issue. Maybe there actually is no change in the background rate. Maybe it's just awareness of the issue and the ability to share information regarding it. Um, or maybe there is, you know, an uptick. It's hard to really say what it is, but it is true, like you were saying, there are children that will develop fatty liver disease or liver failure, liver cancer, liver problems in general. And yeah, there is no association with alcohol. So I think there is so much more that we can learn, and hopefully organizations like the Liver Foundation we'll be able to provide more education and awareness regarding like where is it coming from? How how is there a way that we can potentially adjust our lifestyles to like you were saying, we can't live forever, but maybe protect that health that we have for a longer amount of time. Um,
Yeah,
and another
absolutely. And
another area that like my mind went to, it was you mentioned like the MRI was the test that was able to find the indicator of the cancer to begin with, and that's something that I find in common with a lot of uh, cancer stories. I don't know if that's the right way of putting it, but not just liver, but what type of screening it takes to even find the cancer to begin with. It usually isn't found in those general screenings. It's usually a more, I don't know, maybe a specialized approach or invasive approach to be able to find those cancers to begin with. And what can be tricky with that is sometimes those tests aren't even covered by insurance. Or it's like it's this you have to do 6 things in advance before it'll be covered by insurance, which can be extremely aggravating. I don't know if that was your experience with this or not, but that's something I'm noticing in people's stories. And we're not going to come up with any answers to that problem on this podcast, of course, but I think it is worth mentioning that sometimes it can be a little disheartening when you do run into those issues of not being able to discover things just because of an issue of coverage.
yeah, no, I think you hit it right on the head, Hannah, which is, like you said, it's you'd like it to be, hey, when I go to the doctors, they're going to tell me, everything that's either wrong or not wrong with me, and like a
Mhm.
one-stop shop visit, right? And to be
Right.
honest with you, before some of these things happen, and even being the age of 30 years old, it's like it's not too far-fetched of a thought that, oh, that's kind of what happens. You get your physicals done, you get, checked by the doctor. I know you got some blood work done, oh, nothing showed up, life
Right.
should be okay, right? And it's kind of, what we see in movies, and it's like, yeah, go to the doctors, get checked up. But like you're saying, it's one doctor, then it's a specialist, and then it's this, and then it's that, and then it's a financial thing. Is it insurance
Mhm.
covered here? Is it covered there? Well, we can do this screening and not that one. And I guess the point of it is, it becomes hard to kind of to be able to identify these kind of things, right? And on
Right.
top of being able to identify it is how to combat it, right? So I feel like we're fighting for this cause of two different things, of just wanting to be able to, you know hopefully catch these things earlier, and then another, cause of just how can we combat this or prevent it, even maybe.
Mhm.
Maybe those are two topics in of itself, as prevention, and then also, the post portion
Treatment
of
and
that.
everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
treatments, exactly. So, um, and I think, like I said, with awareness, that and all of those inevitably, hopefully, will get better. It's just the paths to take, hopefully, as well, get a little bit more refined and easier, because, like I said, my dad was doing the screenings and was specific with the liver as well. It just wasn't until injecting a dye into himself and doing an MRI like that they were able to kind of see it on like a black and white, kind of as I'm
Right.
picturing it on the screen. And that screening would have never gotten done unless this blood work was at these levels of what it was, right? So
Right.
again, catching it when it's already at the point,
That's
and
hard.
there is
Yeah.
no return from that, right? So that's kind of, and with the liver in of itself, it just happens to be one of those ones that is a really low percentage, unfortunately,
Right.
of survival, and especially, staggering numbers. Like I was doing some quick research, before, and it's, even if you catch it 5 years in advance, to a sense, right, or it's so small, or even if it's removed, I mean, there's still only a 60 to 70%, survival rate at that, or
Wow.
that it won't come back. And when you find it that it's localized, it's somewhere in this like 30% range. And then if it's already spread, this is looking at the 3 to 5%. This is kind of where my dad
Wow.
had fallen into. So yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say how. Like you said, I wish we could cure it on this podcast of like
Mhm.
the right answer, but at the very least, you giving me this opportunity and platform to speak I think just one person watching this will make a difference, and it made a difference for me. I would like to almost say I wish I had been more involved or had more awareness clearly of this prior. It took this kind of event to happen for me, but I know that some goodness and silver linings will come out from it, from for either me, my family, or anyone else. And that was kind of the beautiful thing, truly, like doing this, raising this money, seeing the employees come together. My dad was there from the very beginning, so he was a there was a lot of love behind that. But seeing
Hmm.
them and seeing their brains kind of shift, we had people retire that were not going to be retiring this year. There's different things, and honestly, you know,
Right.
I found those things, although those are some voids to fill within the company. It's for the better, like on a life scale. I was applauding them, and I'm like, people are getting the idea of, hey, this may not, I'm in my 60s. Brad was 61, and this isn't forever. So maybe I take what's important to me. And of course, like I said,
Right.
that's clearly, you got to be in the right scenarios and circumstances to just retire early. But we
Right.
saw some of that kind of going on. We saw people, saying, hey, I think I want to take a different route, job title, or maybe take a little bit of time off. Even especially in these holidays, I've been noticing large chunks of PTO, and it's kind of like, maybe it's good. Maybe people got the message of, hey, I should be around, my friends and family, or the ones that, that are important to me, because it is a
Yep.
kind of friend. So I've seen that trickle effect this year, which
That's
has
great.
been nice to see. And like I said, hopefully with some of the money that's been raised, that more than the money itself, but the message will go further, and just help out in whatever way that it kind of can.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it already is. I love hearing that. It seems like it was kind of an unexpected positive symptom of what happened with your father. That it seems like people are kind of trying to embrace life in different ways, which I think is a really beautiful thing.
Yeah, no, I think you said it perfectly. They are. They didn't take it in vain, just as I haven't. And like I said, seeing how many people have been part of the Liver Foundation for years, it's nice. It's nice to see that people kind of have dedicated their lives into helping other people's lives. And this is charitable things, and it's, I don't know, it's beautiful when it's selfless kind of love, selfless things. I don't know. I feel like those are the ones that transpire kind of the most, shed the most
Yeah,
light. You do things that you didn't have to, but good things can come out of it. So
yeah, it all reciprocates and grows off of each other. So based on your experience with this, and RFI's experience, would you recommend other companies in the industry maybe find their charitable cause, whether it be, the Liver Foundation or not? Do you think that you've seen enough positive results within the company and in your own personal lives that you would recommend, other integrators and companies to find some kind of mission like this to support?
oh yeah, absolutely. Like, and that's the beautiful thing, is that it can be within the security industry, or within the fire life safety industry, or within any industry. But I would definitely encourage companies to kind of seek this out. I mean, I think the nice, and I say that with with this kind of border of, you don't necessarily want to necessarily find out that, oh, people are going through rough times, but the reality is that is kind of the reality. And when you start
Yep.
to open this book up, and that's what I saw was, wow, when people are donating for this Liver Foundation, they have, oh, they have a brother that has liver cancer right now, and they have
Right.
a wife that's going through that right now. And you don't know these stories until you kind of open this book up, and or you
Yeah.
open this avenue up for people to kind of tell their story, and to donate, and do these different things. And that was the, like I said, I say nice in a weird way, but it was nice to see people share what's going on in their lives, and you can see, wow, I had no idea. You're talking to them,
Mm,
I had no idea that you're going home to maybe someone that, like I said, a partner that does have cancer, or you're going
yeah.
home to chemotherapy with so and so, or you're personally dealing with it. So I would totally encourage companies and industries to at least open the door, whether, if it's not for, like I said, the Liver Foundation, some type of foundation, some type of health, care. I would say just to because I feel like that's ultimately what's kind of, I don't want to say, for lack of better terms, the thing that's taking us out, but it is the health, right? I mean,
Yeah.
accidents happen. There's things that we cannot prevent on a daily basis, but for the most part, we want to try to control the things we can control, right, while we have them. And taking control is a powerful tool,
Yep.
because cancer is really out of the control. Like I said, speaking on my dad, or speaking on the 14-year-old, boy that hasn't taken a sip of alcohol in his life, and why did he get liver cancer? We
Mhm.
don't have control of everything, so you might as well do the little things that you can do. I would encourage, open a door, see what kind of comes out of it, and there was
Yeah.
nothing bad that I don't think ever came out of charity and just doing things, like I said, to spread awareness. Affecting one person's life, could mean the world. Really, it would have meant the world for me. And not that RFI didn't present some of these things, but it really took a big hit like this for it to really be highlighted. And I don't think we'll ever go back to the same way, in the sense of, I think we'll keep this tradition going every year, onward. I don't see why not, and seeing so much success with it. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. So yes, is a long drawn out answer. I would totally encourage anybody, any industry, even honestly, where we got our message out was a lot of social media too. That was the
Mm.
beautiful thing, is taking in these messages that are being passed around at work, because the majority of us are at our work or at our employment. We're spending time with a lot of these people, but taking that from what you get at work and spreading it out to your other friends and family, posting it on social media or on Facebook, and then them saying, hey, I'm going to pass this to my aunt, has cancer too, and maybe we can donate. And just like that, you see this trickle effect. Even LinkedIn, for that matter, it just trickles down. So I would say just get the message out as much as you humanly can.
Oh, that's fantastic. I appreciate you sharing all this. I feel like this has been really illuminating, and for me personally, hearing, RFI's story and your personal story and experience with all this. Yeah, it really has the wheels turning about, I don't know, like how I should, look into this more. And I am sure our listeners will feel the same way and hopefully get involved in some kind of program because, like, as you said, um, really, like, health and life, I mean, it all kind of goes down to that. It's the only
Right.
thing that we have a limited amount of control over and have a limited amount of being empowered in. And so the more we can invest in that, I think is really important. Um, well, speaking of which, I think we're about at time for the podcast, but I'd like to close out by you sharing, is there any way that people who are listening can participate or contribute um, to the Liver Foundation, maybe through RFI or directly? Do you have any links that people can go to or anything like that?
Yeah, I would say, well, besides going directly to just the American Liver Foundation,
Hmm.
I would say, yeah, get in contact with me, or I can share a few other different emails, or that of people that you can get in contact with, because yeah, we do have links to go ahead and keep donating. I know that we've kind of kept this open. I know even until the end of the year we were trying to get past certain numbers. So yeah, I don't have the specific hashtag link on my brain, but definitely if you get in contact with me or anyone for that matter at RFI on how you can help, we'd be more than happy to send that link out. We have shirts that we've made. Liver Foundation has provided shirts for us too, and different things too, to just spread the word. So yeah, any I'd say any avenue you want. You want to wear it, you want to look at it, you want to see it. Yeah, come and talk to me. Come talk to anyone at RFI. That's been kind of the cool thing, is we've become a little bit more of, I wouldn't say experts, but we've become a little bit more educated, a lot more educated on some of this liver health and concerns and everything. So yeah, RFI, we're the right people to talk to if you wanna try to help.
That's awesome. I mean, it's completely up to you. I can either do links in the show notes, if that's what you prefer. Or if you'd like, you can provide your email or work number if you want people to contact you on here. It's up to you, whatever you feel more comfortable with. But I think we definitely, yeah, would like want to take advantage of this opportunity for, people who are interested in helping or contributing or learning more, to have the right avenues to go to.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, mine's pretty easy to remember. It's Brandon Wilson at rfi.com. Just all one word, no capitals or spaces or periods in there. Um, and like I said, if you guys anyone wants to reach out to me, I can point it in the right directions, and get those right resources to you. But yeah, I'm more than welcome to talk to anyone or to speak with anyone, send anything out. So yeah, Brandon Wilson at rfi.com, and I'll definitely get in the right hands.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, thanks again, Brandon, for coming on the Security Nation podcast. I really appreciate it and you sharing your story and everything.
Yeah, no, I appreciate being on here. Thank you for having me. Thank you for everybody listening. Apologies if I just kind of ramble, but it gets passionate. It gets passionate, and
Yeah, not at
I've
all.
enjoyed my time. So thank you for having me, Hannah. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, yeah, it's been awesome. We appreciate it. I think we're basically ready to close out. So thank you,
Okay.
listeners who tuned in today, and make sure to subscribe to the podcast. We're on all the podcasting platforms, and the full video version is available on YouTube. If you're curious about how ESA membership can power your business, please visit our website at esaweb.org. Take some time to schedule a discovery call with our membership team, and you'll be happy you did. I'll make sure to have information about RFI's program on the show notes for this episode. And make sure you have a great day, Security Pros.